What? There's more walkouts? Now you're giving me double. Alyssa Lamb, get the dishes ready. Gracie, get the kitchen all messy. They're giving me double. I don't care. Get your asses in that kitchen, dirty up some fucking dishes, and dirty up that kitchen. All those kids that want to protest against ICE or anti-ICE, they're gonna clean that motherfucking kitchen. Get to work now. It's happening again. Another protest. When will these kids learn that the governor announced this just a couple weeks ago? And if you not tuned into this broadcast, students have been protesting against ICE because of what happened. Some people saying it was peaceful, people getting flipped off. It was first started in Flower Bluff. Now a bunch of other kids are getting involved in different school districts, not just in Coastal Bend, but here in this state. Take a look at this latest.
Another anti-ICE walkout from students in Edison Middle School Thursday. The district estimating about 20 students left class.
I suggest you go back to class.
It comes after Wednesday's student-led walkout ended in what the district is calling a disruption in inappropriate behaviors. The Green Bay School District and Edison Middle School apologized to businesses in the area Wednesday after the walkout allegedly led to damage to some businesses. And a statement from the police department's school resource officer supervisor Thursday says the department is reviewing the incidents and that they will determine if ordinance or criminal violations occurred and if enforcement action is appropriate. Thursday, those students who walked out of school weren't seen leaving school grounds after warnings from Green Bay police.
If you leave school property, you could be cited for truancy. I suggest you go back to class.
The Green Bay Area Public School District tells Fox 11 any consequences from the damage caused to businesses from Wednesday's walkout will align with board policy and that they allow students to leave as to not violate their First Amendment rights. As with past walkouts, the district has reiterated that students who leave class without parental permission will receive an unexcused absence.
We start becoming a team.
Now they're giving me double. All those kids. Dallas. Oh boy.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Texas Governor
Lamb, Gracie, did you get the dishes ready? Get the dishes ready.
Like the ones we've seen right here in Central Texas.
All these protests are just a cry for help saying that we don't like what we're doing. Oh God, where is the common sense bell at? I'll tell you where it's at. It's not in our brains because nobody cares about common sense. The only thing kids care about these days is just exercising their rights. As a child, you don't have rights. Your job every day is to go to school, do the work, turn it in, like everybody else. You think it's so hard to go to school? Listen, I went to school. I was never truant. I never went to truancy court. And y'all may say, well, you don't know shit about truancy. You've never been truant. Fuck you. I never been truant. I know a lot about truancy. I've done this show for years. So those that say that I don't know about truancy, fuck you. I know a lot about truancy. We've done this show for over these years. If you kids out there are thinking it's okay to go protest, you dipshits out there that have lost your fucking minds. Because let me tell you something man to man here, you know. Your moms and dads think that you're cool enough to go protest, you know. It's your First Amendment right. Well, yes, it is your First Amendment right, but your education is very important. You think they're going to hire somebody that was convicted of truancy? Absolutely not. Nobody would. I won't even hire somebody if they skipped class, you know. The governor made it very, very clear. And yet nobody adhered to it. Good job for the Green Bay officer saying, if I were you, I would go back to class. So here's the common sense. If you're that angry about something like this, here's what you need to do. Make a video on TikTok saying what you don't like about ICE. Do not go out there and protest. Don't ever go out there and protest because it's going to get you into the wrong situation. And if your friends, let me ask you something. If one of your friends tell you to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Absolutely not. My friends would never tell me to jump off a bridge. They tell me to jump off a bridge, I wouldn't do it. I would run for my life. I would run for my life before I even decide to jump off the bridge. I mean, your friends have shenanigans put in place. It's like, you just don't care about your education. Your education is very important. You want to get a good job. I've got a good job. I have a good part-time job. I work at McDonald's. I play music. I have a great case manager. I have a great mother. I have some great friends. And believe me, that none of them ever told me to go jump off a bridge. If they did, we would not be friends anymore. That's my bottom line. Coming up, more about what the governor had to say about all of this crap happening with all these protests. And later on, more Project Baltimore than I could even speak of. Stay with us. Schools are paid for by Schools are paid for by Texas taxpayer dollars. We pay taxes, and our taxes go to our public schools. And not everybody cares about education. Like, you go in homeschools, you have to pay for it. We didn't get free education from our tax dollars. And yet those tax dollars being used to go out and protest. I mean, it's not hard to sit in school for like 6.5 to 7 hours whenever y'all want to go out protesting against ICE. The governor made it last week, and 3 days ago, he made this statement on the media. Take a look.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott doubled down on state investigations into school districts and educators after student walkouts over federal immigration policy and enforcement. We've seen those walkouts here in Central Texas.
Well, now the governor says daily attendance funding may be pulled from school districts. KXAN's Grace Reader dives into how attendance is taken and reported to the state and whether it would capture the protests at all.
At an early voting news conference Tuesday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott also talked about recent school walkouts, like the ones we've seen right here in Central Texas, and ways the state may punish involved school districts and educators. It comes the day after the Texas Attorney General said it will investigate whether several school districts, quote, orchestrated student walkouts held to protest federal immigration policy and enforcement.
I can tell you also that the Commissioner for Education is going to be launching investigations also based upon information that he believes is solid information that these educators may have been violating the standards that they have to comply with.
The TEA has previously released guidance for schools on how these walkouts should be handled. That guidance includes students must be marked absent and schools risk losing daily attendance funding if they allow or encourage students to walk out of class. Teachers that facilitate walkouts will be subject to investigation and sanction, including losing their license. And school systems that facilitate walkouts will be subject to investigation and sanction, including either the appointment of a monitor, conservator, or board of managers.
Public schools right now, they get paid on an average daily attendance standard. And the commissioner may be denying funding of public schools for days that these students are missing from being in a classroom.
How exactly that part would work is still a bit unclear. The TEA's attendance handbook says attendance is recorded at one particular point in time at each school. For example, a school may choose to snapshot attendance at, say, 9:45 a.m. But should that attendance tracking happen in the morning, afternoon walkout attendance may not be reflected. Austin ISD's superintendent responding generally.
I am aware, and we're doing everything to ensure compliance. Be hyper transparent about what we do and how we do it, but student safety is a priority for us.
Grace Reader, KXAN News.
And we did reach out to the TEA to ask about the governor's comments and get more details about how the process for holding daily attendance funding from schools may work. Specifically, how the TEA would be able to take funding from a school if if their attendance snapshot doesn't capture the time of a protest. We have not heard back.
The school districts the Attorney General's office said it will investigate include Dallas ISD, Northeast ISD, that's in San Antonio, Manor ISD, and Austin ISD. Going in depth into the attendance policy, back in 2015, Texas lawmakers passed a bill that changed how classroom instruction was timed. Districts no longer had to provide 180 days of classes. Instead, they needed a minimum of 75,600 minutes. Requiring minutes instead of a set number of days gave districts more flexibility in how they scheduled classes, including building and professional development days and adjusting class time during bad weather.
All right, bet. Watch me throw this down.
That's dope. Try this. Put that dunk on.
It's like this, like 1 week after another, we had a holiday. 1 week we had a day off, there was a day off of school, and another week there was another day off of school. It's like, what the fuck? What happened to 180 days at school? What happened to being there for 6 out of 7 hours? Breaks. You know, Labor Day, you were off of school. You were off for Veterans Day. You were off for Thanksgiving break. You were off for winter break. You were off for spring break. Martin Luther King Day. What the hell happened to that? What? Go back to this. We're throwing in our common sense alert.
Gave districts.
All right. Common sense alert. Why? You have to go to school for 180 days. Why reduce? If you're going to sit there and say, let's have flexibility, you're asking for school districts to have 4 days of school while everybody else has a freaking Friday off. When I was in school, it was 180 days. The only times that I didn't go to school was for school breaks, weather days, or any other days. I was never truant. I may have gotten Fs, but as a student, I had to push myself harder. I was a student. I was a good student. I've had teachers that taught me very well. I made some mistakes. I may have gotten in trouble, but it wasn't easy. I had to push myself. I had to push myself to get my shit together. What have you guys done throughout these past days? What have you done? I did what I had to. As a student, I did what I had to. I didn't participate in PE, but I've learned that when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. I was a student for all these years. I've seen it happen. I've been through fire drills. I've been to the office. I've had meetings. I've went through it all. You say you've never been to a walk? You damn right I went to a walker. But if I didn't went through a walkout, I was saying no, reporting anyway, and all you guys would have gotten detention. Starting out in the Coastal Bend, now in Central Texas, where those 4 schools are now going to be laced with another common sense alert. So all this needs to be changed, with the exception of truancy not being criminal. I mean, look at all this. Dallas, Northeast ISD, Manor ISD, and Austin ISD. All these schools deserve the common sense alert. And I'll tell you why. If you encourage these kids to walk out, you ought to be investigated, saying, "We're sorry. We didn't mean to. You didn't mean to. You let it happen. And he didn't do a damn thing. I don't schedule walkouts. I never did. I never attended a walkout. So you're damn right I never did. No, you shut the fuck up. I'll tell you straight up right now. You're damn right I never been to a walkout, because if I did, if I did attend a walkout, it'd be my first to last walkout that I ever attended. You know good damn well. I am a good boy. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs. I'll tell you. I don't drink. I don't smoke. And I don't do drugs. That's the way I go. I'm a good boy. I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. If I did any of those things, I would not allow myself to go back. That's the line I draw, and that's the line that I will not cross. And I won't ever cross that line. Ever again. Never, ever cross that line. You cross that line, there's no turning back. And speaking of turning, when we return, I'm going to zoom in this. When we return, we're going to catch up on some Project Baltimore stories. We have 5 stories to catch up on, from graduation rates to the anti-choking device bill. Those 5 stories, when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back to Baltimore County Shitfest, to where we look at how Baltimore County spends your taxpayer dollars in the state of Maryland. Believe me, we don't want to pay taxes, but we have to anyway because it's our duty, because if we don't pay our taxes, we go to fucking jail. But school spending has tripled over these past years. A lot of people spend a lot more than the other schools, and what do people get? Fancier schools versus principals, but student learning. But if you look at a graph, the line would be flat. You get a lot more money, but no improvements. It's awful. That's why we have competition put in place. Here's Chris Papps.
When it comes to public education, Marylanders often hear a similar message from public officials.
The right increased investment with the right accountability will make the difference.
We want to have the best for our state, competitively going forward, and this is an investment on that.
Now is the work of putting that money in that investment.
Over the past 3 years, according to the Maryland State Department of Education, pre-K through 12 public education investments have increased by more than $2 billion, a 16% spending hike funded by taxpayers. But are those taxpayers getting a return on their investment? According to the Maryland State Department of Education, over the past 3 years, despite that 16% increase in funding, the 4-year high school graduation rate has increased less than 1%, from 85.8% to 86.4%. In 2025, Maryland's high school graduation rate fell by more than 1 point from the previous year.
We remain deeply concerned.
At a recent Maryland State Board of Education meeting, Board President Dr. Joshua Michael explained what he believes caused the drop.
We are seeing heightened political tensions, including the presence of immigration enforcement activity that are being felt directly inside school communities.
Dr. Michael explains how the graduation rate for Hispanics and multilingual learners dropped by more than 4 percentage points, which brought down the state's overall rate.
The harm is visible.
With that harm, according to Michael, being caused by federal immigration policies, though Michael stopped short of specifically blaming President Donald Trump for Maryland's drop in graduation rate.
Declines among multilingual learners and Hispanic students reflect what happens when fear and instability interrupt students' connection to school.
But is it really that simple? These are the graduation rates for multilingual learners in Maryland going back 5 years. Despite the drop in 2025, last year was the second best year for this group of students going back to 2021. So if immigration policy caused this decline in 2025, what caused these lower and declining graduation rates in these years? To get that answer, we emailed the Maryland State Department of Education and the State Board of Education. MSDE responded, stating multiple factors influence graduation rates, such as pandemic-related educational disruptions, student mobility, language acquisition timelines, economic pressures, and the recent federal immigration policy changes are one context that educators and districts have raised as potentially affecting student stability and engagement. In this current fiscal year, 2026, taxpayers will again be giving more money to public schools. According to the state, public education will get about $15.5 billion from taxpayers. That's $1 billion increase from last year. Will that additional money lead to better student outcomes? Project Baltimore will be watching, and we'll keep you updated. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And we'll keep you updated as well as this thing goes around. All right. You may remember our story when we first told you about this student who back in 2019 died of a choking incident at a school. But now there's more to the story. A bill that would really require all schools to have anti-choking devices. Again, Chris Pabst.
For Tony Labat,
thank you for holding this public hearing to discuss House Bill 117.
Testifying before the Maryland House Ways and Means Committee in support of House Bill 117, the Bowen-Levy Airway Clearing Device Act, has been 7 months in the making.
We believe this bill will bring equity to all.
Labat is a home care attendant based in New York.
We raise awareness and advocate for our most vulnerable population
who cares for elderly and disabled patients. She also runs Equal First Aid, a nonprofit organization that lobbies states to pass laws mandating that schools be equipped with airway clearance devices.
Simply place the mask on the person's face
to help save people who are choking.
We are just asking for an added rescue device. It is not to replace current protocol.
I would love to see no choking tragedies.
Project Baltimore first interviewed Labat in June of last year.
Yes.
At the time, she had seen Fox 45's reporting on Bowen-Levy and wanted to help improve safety for Maryland students. In 2019, Levy, an Anne Arundel County Public Schools student with special needs, choked on a rubber glove at school and died days later. Levy's school did not have an airway clearance device on hand, and school aides could not dislodge the glove. Our reporting found many schools, even after Levy's death, are still not properly staffed to help students with special needs.
There are school choking tragedies that can be prevented.
After seeing our story, Labat worked with Baltimore County State Delegate Rick Metzger.
We need to do something.
And drafted the Bowen-Levy Airway Clearing Device Act, which, if passed, would mandate all public schools in Maryland obtain at least one airway clearing device for use by the school nurse or any other school personnel who receives training.
Students across Maryland believe schools should be better equipped to respond to choking emergencies.
At this hearing, 7 people testified in favor of the bill, virtually or in person, including Carroll County High School student Miranda Hart.
Student safety must come first.
Eric Ryan is confined to a wheelchair. He testified that the Heimlich maneuver is much more difficult to perform on someone like him. He prefers airway clearance devices.
It would be wildly inappropriate and not acceptable to not give people like myself an option
When we're choking,
When Kimya Devani's son was younger, he choked on food. She testified she felt much more secure knowing an airway clearance device was an option.
When the Heimlich fails, the airway clearance device is the next tool and the only tool that we have to rescue a person before they die.
No one testified in opposition to the legislation, but letters of opposition were submitted. The Maryland Department of Health and the Maryland State Education Association, the teachers union, both opposed the bill, saying the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, has not authorized any anti-choking devices, and the Heimlich maneuver is the most reliable and effective method. The Fire EMS Coalition also filed a letter that opposes the bill, but did not explain why.
I think it's a great bill. It's a very critical bill.
At the hearing, proponents argued 5,000 people choke to death every year in America. One child dies every 5 days, and schools are considered high risk.
Your time in reviewing our support for House Bill 117 is greatly appreciated.
Labatt argues airway clearance devices are not the first line of defense, but rather a last option to try to save a life.
Once I saw the Bowen Levy story, it broke our hearts because it was so many years ago, and choking tragedies don't come to light until lawsuits are filed and settled. So we're trying to prevent choking tragedies.
According to proponents of the bill, airway clearance devices have been installed in more than 10,000 schools throughout the United States, and advocates are working with the FDA to seek medical approval for airway clearance devices. We will stay on this story and provide you with updates as House Bill 117 works its way through Annapolis. I'm Chris Paft, and this is Project Baltimore.
I'm Kai Jackson. Thank you for watching. Here's another video to watch.
So now we know what's going to happen now. We'll keep following this story, and on a future episode, we'll let you know what happens.
New at 5, 2 Cobb County.
I'll be back in just a moment. Would you ever imagine as a parent realizing that your child had missed a bunch of schools since kindergarten? Well, 2 weeks ago, a couple of parents are facing charges after their kids missed over 100 days of school. It happened since kindergarten. Now, this isn't the first time we covered something like this. No. If you remember, we talked about a mom and dad who were arrested for not sending their kids to school. And it's been going on and on since 2005. And you know what their excuse was? We didn't have a working alarm clock. That was their excuse. So why would the mom parents be arrested even though they were at the doctor? Take a look.
When it gets to this step where a warrant has to be issued, the county has exhausted all potential possibilities to try to address the problem beforehand.
These are the arrest warrants for 2 parents, both facing charges after police say their children missed too many days of school. After the arrest warrants were issued, both parents turned themselves in and were released the same day. According to warrants, investigators say one child has missed 244 days of school since kindergarten, and the other child, who is in elementary school, has missed 144 days of school since kindergarten. I spoke with the mother to get her side of the story. She didn't want her face shown on TV, but told me her children were sick, and she plans to fight the charges.
It does happen. It is extremely rare, but it has happened in Cobb.
Jeff Hubbard is the president of the Cobb County Association of Educators.
When a child has so many absences, 3, 5, 7, and 10, there is a progression of duty and care that the system takes to either identify what the concern is or to provide assistance to get the child to school. They do it.
Hubbard says numerous steps are taken before parents face charges for too many unexcused absences.
So it starts out with 3 unexcused absences. Teacher communicates to the parents. 5 unexcused, then the school generates a letter that goes home. At 7 absences, it goes to our school social worker. At 10 absences, then what we do is that it goes to DFACS. And once that's done, a referral is made.
And a Cobb County School District spokesperson told me they work with families through truancy support, social workers, interventions, and more. This is the school district's attendance protocol. You can access this online. It's public. This actually lists all the steps that are taken and resources that are offered. We will continue following this case. Reporting live from Cobb County, Michelle Newell, Channel 2 Action News.
So, even if the child was sick, I mean, okay, let me rephrase this, every state, most states are strict on truancy. Iowa is one of the stricter states that crack down on truancy, especially in Montgomery County. We've been talking about this for several years on Give Me a Break. We talked about how if your child doesn't go to school, how juvenile lunacy can go up. Well, it can. And since kindergarten, since those kids didn't go to school, they might be at risk of not getting their education. Well, actually, that probably came out wrong. Since it's been going on in that class, since one person in elementary school, they'll probably fall behind. But for kindergarten, that person in kindergarten, it was just probably, a great thing. Because, the parents turned themselves in saying, oh, he was sick. The mom plans to fight the charges. Okay, well, where's the proof that he was sick? I mean, if you're going to call school saying your child's sick, you got to call them and then present a note the next day. If not, that's considered an unexcused absence. Those are saying, oh, should we get truancy laws? That's not happening because, if you get rid of truancy laws, then all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself it's cool to not be going to a classroom. This is like how I feel. That's Give Me a Break for this Friday. I'm John the Carmody. I'll see you again next week.